International Social Justice Day. Brief presentations will be delivered on the significance and importance of the notion and concept of social justice and the necessity of working to achieve a socially conscious and just society and world order. Keeping in the theme of today's deliberation, that is, society for all, is egalitarianism possible? The panelists will draw on regional and national examples of social...
Very good afternoon to all ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to this panel discussion to observe the National Social Justice Day. I welcome our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ms. Alicia Gatpo, our Registrar, Dr. Ms. Indrani Bhuyan, our esteemed panelists, in which Mr. Surijit Sen will introduce later, our fellow students from our university, Ramba Ashnam of Malki, the teachers of other colleges and students of all other colleges, and the media. I welcome you all today in this auspicious day, that we will get some meaningful insight and on various issues that our society are facing, and maybe possible solution from our esteemed panelists, in which our society are seeking to attain equality in our society or justice for all. But the question still remains whether egalitarian is possible. In our day-to-day life, knowingly or unknowingly, sometimes we have faced, see, or even experienced injustice, or even knowingly or unknowingly created injustice to others. The issues that we are facing in our society, in bringing that fundamental right to our society, the equality for all. I welcome you. I welcome especially our esteemed panelists, the moderator, Professor El Pasar, Mr. Tuki Bala, Ms. Hasina Karbi, Dr. Eki Naukarbi, who will be arriving later, Mr. K.S. Kinjing, who is the Advocate General, and all my fellow colleagues, friends, students, and the media. Thank you so much for your time, and I am sure that in today's discussion, like I've mentioned earlier, we will gain a meaningful insight on various issues that our society are facing, and even possible solution in which our society are seeking to attain. Thank you.
First, a warm good afternoon to each and everyone. Good afternoon, Professor L.S. Gasa, who has consented to be the moderator, Mr. K.S. Pinjena, the Advocate General of the State, Mr. Tuki Bula, Professor Econom Kali, who is yet to arrive, Mr. Thomas Lim, and Ms. Hasina Karbi, the invitees, the teachers from other institutes, along with the faculty of the university, students from other colleges and institutes, along with the students of the university. The members of the press also are welcome to come. Now the pertinent question we will ask today is, why are we holding a panel discussion on social justice? The answer is because in today's world, the society is imbalanced with inequality, discrimination, and exploitation of the unprivileged class, which includes the poor, the physically challenged, the aged, the women, and the children. Now, social justice means an access to justice for the socially disadvantaged and or the marginalized persons. The English dictionary defines social justice, that is on the thesaurus of the Reader Digest. It defines social justice as the exercise of authority towards the society in the maintenance of rights and acting in accordance with what is morally and legally right. Now, social justice has become an important phenomenon in the 20th century, post the First World War, and more so significantly after the Second World War. The preamble to our Constitution has provided social justice to all. But is really justice been extended to each and everyone? That is the question. And our policymakers have constituted a ministry which is titled the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, to look and ensure that social justice and empowerment to the underprivileged and the disadvantaged persons are extended to. Now, the concept of social justice did not evolve overnight. This concept did not evolve today, not just in the last 2 years. If you would see that, you trace back, you would find that social justice was and is embedded in all religions of the world, in one form or the other. Amongst the Christians, one of its key aspects is to extend a helping hand to the poor and the needy. And Christianity teaches us, that is what Jesus Christ said, do it to your brethren, the least of your brethren, you do it to me. So you trace it right to that time also. Now similarly, amongst the Muslims they have the alms giving, which is called the zakat. Now here, the zakat is a type which is one of the pillars of the Islamic faith. And in order to ensure that alms giving, you find that Muslim rulers in olden days, they give alms to the poor from the zakat. Some Muslim rulers even impose the zakat tax. Now, charity and assistance to the poor, which is a concept of, you can say this concept of the social justice of today, is an inherent part of the Islamic faith. Now again amongst the Hindus, if you trace Hindu society and Hinduism, you find that the ancient Hindu society, it is a society of equality. It was not a society of inequality. It was a society of equality. Turn back to the Rigvedic period. During the Rigvedic period, what do you find? You find that there was no casteism. There was no discrimination against the women. A woman is part and parcel. She is the mother of the house. It's mandatory for her to be present during all the pujas, during all those rituals. But later on, in the later Vedic period, what you find? Because of greed for power, greed for materialism, evolved a section of the society. It engulfed a section of the society. And this led to a hierarchy, where you find there is the prevalence of casteism, as well as also discrimination against the women and the Pharisees. Now, in the 19th centuries, we have from the olden times, we will not go through it, but in the 19th century, mid-19th century, luckily, we have certain reformers. We have the period Indian Renaissance, we have Indian reformers like Rajaram Mohan Roy, Swami Vivekananda. These people, they also saw the social injustices. They saw them, but they did not keep quiet. They came out to the forefront and fought for reformations. And that is how we had a reformed Hinduism, a reformed Hindu society, where sati was banned, casteism was not considered to be legal. You have also the ban on the female infanticide, which we see even till today. There is also the ban against child marriage. These happened in those days. So right from the 19th centuries, we saw that there is the importance of social justice. Now during the late 19th and the early 20th centuries, period, you will find that social justice had also become an important theme in the American philosophy, where you have both the federal government as well as the state governments in the United States of America had introduced legislations to ensure socio-economic development of the weakest nations. Over there at that time you have the colored and the non-colored, the whites. So there you have, they introduced social legislation in order to help the development of the weaker class. Now, mid-20th century, social justice had become a global phenomenon. And this you can see from what is written, the text of the United Nations Organization, which has clearly defined social justice as protection of human rights. And this eventually led to the adoption of the Declaration on Social Progress and Development in 1969 by the United Nations Organization. Now, importantly today, how do one deliver social justice? We should ask ourselves, who is the deliverer and who is the recipient? Who is the deliverer and who is the recipient? Now, delivery of social justice can be done both or taken as an individual responsibility and a joint social responsibility. Now, individual responsibility is an individual's effort extending a helping hand to the poor, the underprivileged, the physically challenged. Now, but in most cases, individual responsibility, the extension by individuals, cannot be sustained. Difficult to be sustained. And why? Because in most instances, the individual responsibility of lending a helping hand is normally given at a time of crisis, in times of emergency, times of need, but it's not a constant one. But joint responsibility, on the other hand, which is a responsibility of each and everyone, including the government or the state machinery, has a lasting impact. And it will help in the development of the weakest section of the society. Now, through joint responsibility, we can ensure equal access to opportunities and rights, as also the ability to take these opportunities and exercise these rights. It's not only that they are there, not only to say that you have these opportunities, but they should take the opportunities and exercise their rights. A joint responsibility can successfully monitor protection of the vulnerable and the disadvantaged people, and also a fair distribution of resources. Again, you come to another question, a panel discussion really comes with questions. What are the kinds of social justices that can be extended and executed to alleviate the disadvantage? One step is through social security. That is, the social security here means the assistance given by the state and the government to those lacking in economic security and welfare. And that is towards the aged, physically challenged, the poor, the downtrodden, the widows, the women, the children, and I don't know, this can be debated to a certain extent to the unemployed. Now, amongst the above, there, as I can say here, there may be a hitch in extending social security towards the unemployed youths. Why? Because they may become too dependent and would not strive to get employment. So therefore, to introduce social security for the unemployed, you need an age barrier. So that the person knows that when I reach this age, I will not be entitled to any help and will therefore have to strive to earn a living and stand in his or her own feet. Then again, you may say that a social security to be provided to the poor and the weaker sections of the society. Now these should be extended and executed in such a manner that to raise them, which means that to the poor, the underprivileged, when you extend the social security to them, they should not be contented only with that. But that social security be given to them should help them to come out of it and rise to the level of the privileged class. Now today, the government is also providing social services. We have seen it, particularly in the realm of education and healthcare. Now before I sit, I just want to play before the August House this question. How do we here identify the poor and the underprivileged class? How do we identify them? Under what scale do we identify them? Are they really poor and underprivileged, or is there a curtain that shields some undesirable actions? For example, the beggars. Take the beggars on the streets. Are they really denied of any privileges? Food, a home, that they are forced to beg? Or is there an organized crime? Or are they victims of an organized crime? Now, here I did remember some years back, we did have numerous beggars in the streets of Shillong, particularly in the market areas. And it came to light that it was an organized crime, where these beggars were brought at 3-4 o'clock in the morning at Anjali Point. At Anjali Point, the trucks, buses, they were brought there and then sent to different parts of the city. And again, and then again they came back to that point. Now that was an organized crime. So how do we identify who is really a poor beggar and who is not a victim? Also, we have to look into the victims, poor girls and boys, victims of kidnapping. They are the victims of human trafficking. Because now not only girls, but even boys also are trafficked. Young boys, that is for cheap labor. The young boys, they are kidnapped. And for what? Cheap labor, particularly in factories and all. Now, does this end here? Is it just for us to know? Or should we reach out to the downtrodden? What are we to do? Is it going to end on paper? Or can we act on it? That should be the end of our panel discussion. What can we do? Now, that if we can do something, session today really is successful. It's successful today because of the different talks, but its success will be after some time, whether we can reach out to the poor, the weaker sections, the children in the streets. Can we do that? Now, in conclusion, we can say back to social justice here, when extended, social justice, when extended and properly executed, will elevate the underprivileged, the poor, the weaker section class, to the level of the privileged class. And each of us, because here today, the August House here today, from students, teachers, to the panelists in particular, and guests, I think we are all intellectuals here, educated. So therefore, each of us here will have to make an effort to work with others to design and continually perfect our institutions as tools for social development. So the importance of social justice can be seen in our attempts being made towards the realization of a world where the underprivileged, the weak, and the disadvantaged class can exercise the basic human rights and have equal access to the benefits of the society as each and everyone else. Thank you.
Mr. Toki Blood. Ms. Hasina Karbi. To Professor A.K. Nonkandri. To Mr. Thomas Lim. And to Mr. K.S. Kinjig. Now, without further ado, I request Professor Gasa to open the discussion. Sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Surajit Sen, for having given me this privilege as one of the persons who belong to the unprivileged member of society, and also for having sandwiched me between and among all the other panelists. I take this opportunity to thank ICFAI University for this occasion, in which on this particular day, on National Social Justice Day, they are organizing this discussion on the topic, Society for All, Is Egalitarianism Possible? Without much ado about many other things, we have with us 5 heavyweights, and all the 5 heavyweights will put their weights on you to listen to them academically and also otherwise. We are here at Eldorado Inn, which also reminds me of the old vintage Western cowboy movies, as if you are going to Eldorado of Texas or the other places in the American country. It's a place where you also expect not only in terms of digging real gold, but also in digging the academic gold through the 5 panelists. May I request the first speaker, Mr. Toki Black, who is going to speak on ability or disability, social justice for the tribals, as our opening batsman.
Moderator in this discussion, distinguished and learned members of the panel, distinguished members of the audience, ladies and gentlemen. I've been asked to speak on a very specific topic, and that is ability or disability, social justice for the tribals. My focus will be, therefore, on the tribal issues of social justice as per my mandate. It is the most appropriate topic, I suppose, to discuss on a National Justice Day. Let us therefore start with this maxim that India is a land of immense diversity. I mean, we all know this. Physically, culturally, climatically, geographically, and within today's discussion also with a tremendous, cutting across the board, social diversity. That is India. That is the country we live in. However, nothing exemplifies this amazing social diversity, that the issue of caste division in Hindustan. We have upper caste, we have lower caste, we have the untouchables, we have the Harijans, we have the Adivasis, we have the OBCs, and what? To add to this division of the country into various, there are these various sects, faiths and religions. Not satisfied, we have also had distinct social categories labeled as minority or as giving them the tribal status. In this most convoluted and confusing concoction of social integration, India has added its latest category, a social category, that is called the chinky-eyed Northeasterners. Well, as I said, the topic I've been allotted is the ability or disability of social justice for the tribals. It is about social justice for the tribals, but I have therefore decided to focus this discussion, my presentation, on something that we are personally familiar with. I think it will be useless for me to wander and meander all over the place about the tribals, the social justice of the tribals in the rest of India. Let us therefore concentrate on the issues of social justice for the tribals of the Northeast, a region and issues from which all of us are familiar. It will be more meaningful to dwell on issues and aspects of social justice, therefore, as they happen to us, as they happen to you and me. So if there is social justice for the tribals of the Northeast, let us for a moment try to analyze, as per the topic allotted, whether it has been ability or a disability to these underprivileged so-called tribes. When we speak of social justice for the indigenous upland people of the Northeast, we have to do so from a historical perspective. This perspective can be divided into 2 phases. The first phase coincides with the documented history of the region and begins with the advent of the British. Once we accept this, once we accept that there is need for social justice in this region, and that the British were the ones who started it. It also comes in with the question of who, as questioned by the Vice Chancellor in her speech today, who delivers social justice? So here we find that it is the first deliverers of social justice in the Northeast were the so-called colonial powers. As imperialist colonists, the British were the first to introduce mechanisms aimed at protecting the social and cultural interests of their Northeast tribes. We all know this. However, we tend to forget